Hi, good morning, everyone. So today we have with us a member, Bruce Henderson. He's from the beautiful Sydney city of Sydney, just in the hills. And what's exciting is that he's actually quite a new member. He's been with us for 6 months, and he's been retired for 8 years, and he manages his entire portfolio. So I'm really excited to speak to Bruce today about his experience and the due diligence that he did to join our membership. Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
I'm really well indeed. Thanks, Gia. Yeah, great to be online with you. And yeah, it's great actually to be a member of Shares in Value, which I'm sure you're going to drill me about.
No, this is just a friendly conversation for our
No.
community to learn a bit about your relationship with us. So why don't we start off a little bit by talking about how did you actually learn about shares and value?
Well, it's a bit of a story. I'm aware of many share picking services. And to be brutally honest, I'm a member of a couple of others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I'd done due diligence on joining those, but the problems I've found, there's two other companies that I support as well as Shares in Value. One in particular have the habit of doing a share recommendation, then that share disappears forever. So if you've bought a share, and as a retiree and as an investor, my biggest sin, I don't know if I should admit these in a public forum, is I buy shares, I fall in love with the piece of paper or the stock, I put it in my bottom drawer and I ferret it away. And in the meantime, it's either gone
Mm-hmm.
through the roof or gone through the floorboards. Problem with and how that relates to the share company I'm referring to is that they recommended the share.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it and I say, yeah, I agree, I'll buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it tanks and I I didn't react. I don't monitor it enough because I probably don't spend enough time on my portfolio, even though it's quite substantial.
Mm-hmm.
So it's costly. A second
Right.
company I jo- a second
So
company I joined. Oh, sorry, go on.
Mhm. Oh, no, no. I was just talking about accountability. I think that's something that our analysts and our management team are really pride ourselves on around being, like I said, if we make a recommendation, we certainly activate and we follow it through to make sure that our members are
Yeah.
alerted when there's any movements in the market. But please tell me more about the other second membership that you joined.
Well, the second one I've got, again, it's quite well known. I'm going to say widely supported.
Sure.
They're a service that tends to cold call people. I was aware of the company and I was aware of some of their reports,
Hmm.
and I joined them. And they promised to be a stock picking service, which they're not. They're a salesman's service. So they will say, pay X to get Y service.
Hmm.
Oh, and part of that service is access to a quite sophisticated analytical tool for you to find some of your own shares. Oh, but you want to learn to use that tool. Oh, we'll charge you more money. We'll give you a mentor. We'll do X, Y, and Z because that online platform has very poor support, very poor documentation, no videos, nothing you would basically expect. So during all this dilemma, I'd previously talked to the guys at Shares in Value, and particularly Scotty,
Hmm.
and I'd parked them for various reasons. And I thought, no, this isn't good enough. So I hammered them. And I
Yeah.
said, I want to sit in, and I'm an ex-auditor. So I'm not easy to please or to get on with when I put my audit hat on, particularly if it's something that's costing me money or I'm going to purchase a service. So talk to the guys. I sat in on seminars and I enjoyed it. And I thought the quality of the information was good. And
Hmm.
as Gia, you talked to a second ago, their recommendations, particularly in their newer platform, the high conviction buys, have a buy price, what we think the potential of the profit is, and a
Hmm.
sell price. And those figures are adjusted. Now, that's pretty cool. So it gives me more guidance.
Yes.
I don't sit every day and chart. I don't look at it. And as I mentioned, I think most investors, my stage of life, we want to do some other things. I need and want that support.
I appreciate that feedback, Bruce. Which really helps me segue to that next question in that case is obviously you have a wonderful quality of life. And, without revealing too much detail, our viewers are usually very curious because it is a community. So without revealing too much, what type of investor are you? And how do we sit in alignment with your strategy? Like, are you focused on growth or are you more of an income and a dividends investor or value investor, in fact?
Okay, I'm a little bit of part A, a little bit of part B, a little bit of part C and D.
Yes.
Um, I guess as an investor, I'll be brutally critical of myself, even though I have the financial skills, having 30-year career in audit in both
Hmm.
private and a government organisation. Um, I probably don't apply it as diligently as I should, even though it's my money. That's totally illogical, and I get that. But where my thoughts are is predominantly I'm looking for a value share. I'm
Hmm.
looking for a dividend as well, particularly one in Australian tax law that gives a fully franked dividend,
Yes.
because that minimises some tax exposures I've got, and what we call in the trade an oh shit experience at the end of the year when I do my tax return and I see a debit, not a credit. So I like to do that, but that doesn't preclude me from buying some weird and wonderful, I will call them penny dreadful shares. And that's a term from a very old gentleman called Ian Huntley, who used to write a stock report back in the, I'm going to say 70s. I'm revealing my age,
Wow. Yep.
before you were born. And it was a report called the Penny Dreadfuls Report. And he had other reports as well. But what he basically did was said, here's a wide net of X number of stocks that are cheap as chips, yeah, under a cent to maybe 10 or 20 cents.
Hmm.
So I do look for some of those shares. I do look, shares in value have shares in that portfolio as well. And they look high risk spec. Some of them are mining, some of them have done well, some of them haven't. But if you buy 10, two or three might go broke, two or three might do well, and two or three won't do anything. And there's one that could be anywhere. So I invest in all portfolios, and by that way, rather than looking at investments in a wider sector, I get my spread of risk by the
Hmm.
type of shares I buy. So
So
it's a little bit
diversification works for
that's
you.
it works for me, but based on a share type rather than so much as a sector. And the analyst guys talk about sector rotation and all those other things, and how it fits in with market swings and roundabouts. But I do it a slightly different way, but taking advice of Scott and the boys, Scott and the team.
Excellent. And now another question here is, so I guess the first question I have is, how do our recommendations align with your investment strategy? And what aspect do you enjoy the most of our membership? Is it like the fortnightly webinars? Do you enjoy all of the notifications that you receive through email? I'm very curious. And obviously, it sounds like you've got a wonderful relationship with our team and our highly skilled account managers and analysts.
Look, this is going to seem like a little bit of a flippant or marketing reply, and I must ensure anyone who's watching this, I'm your client from hell. Um, I have rules that I follow, having a 30-year audit career. I don't take prisoners.
Hmm.
And I'm not that influenced by marketing hype, and this is going to sound like hype. I enjoy being part of shares in value. Um, it's not the recommendations. Well, it is to an extent, but I enjoy being part of it. Um,
Yep.
I have a great relationship with my client manager, Gavin,
Hmm.
and I know, and I've had I've spoken to Scotty and some of the other analysts on a couple of occasions with particular questions. Look, the webinars are great. The information's great. The website's great. The webinars are a bit funny because they're definitely not scripted. And
Like us.
I'm going to be a bit brutal here, and I apologise, Scotty. I mean, when they flick from analyst to Scotty, Scotty to analyst, they often forget to turn their microphones on. And it's not a slick, polished show. It's real. It's people. They ad lib. They're talking from their brain and their heart. And Scotty always wants to put 2 cents worth in and to add some value. It's great. It's not slick. It's not a Toastmasters presentation. And I'm not being in any way critical. I love it. It's fun. And dealing with Scotty one-on-one is exactly the same. He'll have a joke. When I ring Gavin, I get a return call or I speak to him on the spot. He knows a little bit about me. He knows I'm a bushwalker. He knows I'm a member of State Emergency Services. He knows a little bit about me. So I think it's fun. And
Good.
they're helping me in my investment journey. The alignment of their recommendations are great because they present information. I then have a look at a couple of things that I do with investments, and I say, does that align to me? Because I'm unique. They're giving a more global perspective.
Sure.
And they're saying, we think this is a good share, and here's our story. And they are right into giving the story about the enterprise and what it's doing and where it's going, and talking to the senior execs in that company and the CEOs to get a little bit of a run about what's happening now and in the future. As an investor,
wonderful.
Yeah, they're pretty special.
That's one. Well, I think that's what I can sense from our conversation is that the underlying themes is that you enjoy managing your money. You actually, and you have fun doing it also with our team, with Gavin and Scott and the team. And I think also is that you are willing to actually explore the salient attributes that may not be on the surface level when we do make those recommendations.
Oh, exactly. And I tend to buy and hold, as I mentioned earlier in the discussion, and the guys have just come on board to do a bit of a portfolio review with me, just to try and
Great.
thin out some of my stocks, because I think I still have over 60. Maybe it's gone down to 50. It's too many. You can't.
That's a lot to manage. That's a lot to manage.
It's too much when I'll be brutal and say a lazy investor that, I buy it, and as long as, there's not too much red on the page, I'm pretty happy.
Good. And Bruce, what's your experience been with it's a relatively new platform, the high conviction buys component. Have you been using that very much?
Yeah, I'll give you the figures. They've had about 8 from memory. I can't find it in just a couple of quick notes I scribbled down. I think they've had about 8. I've got in about 6. One was...
So you took 6 positions out of 8.
Yeah, maybe even 7. One hasn't been successful. That was a company called IGO. It's a lithium copper nickel player. And people have to remember, no share service, stock picking service, value adding service will be 100% right. I don't even think Warren Buffett gets it 100% right, except if the name WB is associated with it, it's immediately going to go through the roof. So he's got a different following. Yeah, precisely. He's a brand, and you buy 1/10 of his share, and it costs you more than a new Mercedes Benz. I exaggerate, but they're quite expensive. So look, I didn't do well in that share. I've back checked it to other services and recommendations.
Hmm.
Everyone was caught flat, and that was because there was lots of issues about changes in demand, changes in electric vehicle take-up, changes in China. It's a resource product, so it is subject to some external forces. But look, that being said, let me simply put it this way.
Please.
I've been with Shares in Value for 6 months, and I
Hmm.
bought I'll call it a trial 12-month membership to see how I got on. And that's what I've done with other companies that I were members of, and I won't
Yep, that's
renew their
prudent.
subscriptions when they come up. So I bought the 12 months membership, and having a chat to the guys only about a month ago, and I said, look, yeah, there's a few things I need to do. Got a little bit of a tax problem. I've made a couple of pretty good investments. Can I renew my subscription? Can I buy a forward plan this early in the piece? And no business is going to say no. So the guys welcomed me on board and said, look, we'll offer you we've got a 5-year subscription available. And let me put it this way, with the high conviction buyers, my paper profits on those have more than covered my losses in IGO, and they have also paid for my new subscription. So, yeah, I think that speaks reams.
So, Bruce, to the viewers out there at the moment who are thinking about joining our membership, and
Yep.
given that you're a relatively new member and you are an auditor by trade and you have done your extensive due diligence on us, what would you have to say to them?
But quite simply this, I've parted with some cash. And as you can see on screen, if my name's published, it's I have a surname which is Henderson, which is Scottish. Now, I'm not going to be inappropriate and say what Scots are renowned for, and it might be to do with short arms and deep pockets, but I'm not sure. I'm not going to ridicule my ancestry, which I'm very proud of. So quite
Hmm.
simply, um, I would take a trial membership. I would do your own reading. I would ask
Hmm.
maybe to go on a webinar or two just to experience it.
Yes.
The guys are great. Bottom line, I parted with money. As an investor, you can do it all yourself and waste a bucket load of time and it's quite a lonesome journey.
Yep.
Or you can have a backup. And just before this interview, I actually rang my contacts in SIV, Shares in Value, and said, look, there's 2 share purchase plans on offer at the moment. One company called Drone Shield, which is a
Hmm.
high-tech Australian company that's in the anti-drone space.
Hmm.
Little tiny tech.
Yep.
Shares in the last month have gone through the roof. And another company called CXM, which is basically phosphate mining. I know Shares in Value have a position on both, so I just rang to have a little bit of a chat and to update myself on that. Bottom line is this. I don't regard Shares in Value as a subscription service. I view it as having an intelligent friend sitting at my table. Scotty refers to us as members. Scotty is wrong. It's a
Oh.
family. I
Ah.
feel like I feel like I've got a smart mate at the end of the phone. And in fact, we did have a Share in Value lunch about maybe
Yep.
4 months ago, which was a
February. There was an
fantastic
event in February.
and it was fabulous. And it was a
Mm.
real shock because there was no mentions of anything to buy, anything to
Yep.
do. We just had wonderful presentations. We
Hmm.
met some key players, the wider
Hmm.
team, and we also met other investors. And I took the opportunity to say, how have you gone? What's your investment strategy? How do you utilize the service? Are you involved in anything else? And it was quite insightful. So bottom line, in most instances, membership is tax deductible. You
Perfect.
just need one share out of the many recommendations with not an excessive contribution to pay for the membership. Short, sharp, and simple. Highly recommend it. I like the guys. I'm the customer from hell, so if I'm a member, something's going well.
Thank you, Bruce. I think just to sum it up, as you know, I have the privilege of talking to a lot of members actually on this platform. And as I say, the hallmarks are very similar, having a good relationship with the account managers, Scott, Gavin, and it really is becoming a community. And that really shone through in February with one of our first real life events and speaking with the team at Shares in Value. That certainly won't be the last, because I think it's about bringing, whilst this is a digital service and a community, we're trying to tangibilize the intangible as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a great event, and it was good to sort of finally meet some of the players,
Yes.
and look, it was just wonderful, and it was, we were all shocked at the table that I was sitting on, saying they didn't try and sell anything. But I've got to tell you a story that was humorous on the day, and it actually did get broadcast as part of the lunch speech. Sitting at my table was a gentleman who predominantly invests in a particular coal company. He's a day trader and he likes coal, so he buys and sells coal. Lovely guy, has some other investment strategies, long-term member of Shares in Value. And I just chatting to him, I said, "Yeah, what brought you here? Are you a local?" And he said, "Well, you're not going to believe this. Today is my 55th wedding anniversary." I think it was 55th. It was a huge number. You get less for murder. And I said, "Wow, that's fantastic." And he said, "Yes, as part of it, I promised my wife a really lovely dinner." The dinner was the Shares in Value function. And it was a lovely dinner, but just cracked me up that someone said to his wife, "I'm going to take you out for our 55th wedding anniversary to a lovely lunch." And it was a freebie from Shares in Value.
He's a smart man.
Oh, yeah, look.
Thank you so much for everything, Bruce. I've had an incredible conversation, and I'm sure that our viewers did as well. Thank you.
Look, and if people want to reach out to me to validate this, I offered to do it after a chat with Gavin and Scotty recently. And, they did ask me. I knew they'd had a service where they asked members for feedback. And I said, "Look, I'd be very happy to provide it." I'm a prolific writer on some of the websites, feedback websites, and I said it would be my honour and privilege and pleasure to support the team.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks, Gia. Appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of your day in sunny Berlin.
Thank you.